to ask Dr. Lakhvinder Singh for his perspective for India and also for Asia as a whole. He's also an expert on Korea. Dr. Singh.
Thank you, sir, for giving me this opportunity. I think even though on the surface, at this time, situation in Asia looks very calm and peaceful, but I think this Ukraine crisis is going to impact geopolitical environment in the region, especially in the Indo-Pacific, very strongly.
Right.
So we people who are living in Asia need to worry about, because two of the most important powers which are directly involved in the conflict are from Asia, China and Russia. So, but this time, when this world order was set up after the end of the World War, US was the most powerful country, and both China and Russia was very big. So that time they could not challenge USA, But now these two countries are very powerful and very ambitious. So it will be very, very difficult for USA to restore its dominance. Last time, the USA dominance was based on its economic superiority as well as its military superiority, but not anymore. Now the both USA's economic superiority as well as military dominance has been challenged by China and Russia. So Ukraine war in a way has challenged US dominance in the region, and it will be very, very difficult for the region to come back to pre-war situation. I think so. We are shifting the pre-order region in the region World War II region. Order in the region is now shifting. It's very, very difficult to set up the stable political as well as economic system in the region, because now China and both Russia will not accept US dominance anymore. So this Ukraine war is going to affect our region very, very strongly. I think they are going to be, in a brief, they are going to be having 5 important applications which this region can have for the region. The most important will be implication will be for China. I think China was being very active in the region, and China was trying to challenge US dominance before the war. But now, since the war has started and USA is engaged in the war, so USA may not be able to pay that much attention in the Indo-Pacific region. So we, who are the strong allies of USA, should be worried about increasing influence of China. So first implication will be China is going to be more and more aggressive and more claiming more and more territory in the region. So first consequences of this war, China's attitude towards the region is going to be more and more aggressive. I think the second most important point is about North Korea. Before the Ukraine crisis, North Korea was able to somehow deflect USA pressure, and North Korea was able to keep its nuclear weapon despite the economic sanctions, despite all the threats coming from the USA. Somehow North Korea survived the pressure from USA and built a very strong and powerful economic nuclear system. But now with the Ukraine war, USA dominance in the region has been challenged, and as we all know that Ukraine was persuaded to give up its nuclear weapon under a nuclear treaty with the USA, UK, and Russia. But that treaty now has been challenged by Russia. So now, how can we persuade China? How can we persuade North Korea to give up its nuclear weapon through peaceful means? I think second most important application for the denuclearization of North Korea will be North Korea. So it will become more and more difficult for peaceful denuclearization of North Korea. So, and that is going to have a direct impact on South Korea's foreign policy, because the more South Korea, the more weapons in North Korea test, the more submarines, missiles in North Korea test, the more and more aggressive and more and more specialist policy we can expect from new president of South Korea. So in the coming days, we can expect stronger and more pro-USA foreign policy from South Korea. So this heavy tilt towards USA is going to impact the region very, very strongly, because China is not going to take lightly, even though China may not openly oppose the new foreign policy of South Korea, but China is not going to allow new modern weapons coming from USA and being deployed in South Korea. Last time when they tried to deploy the long-term THAAD in Korea, China have objected very strongly. But now, if South Korea is trying to bring more weapons to South Korea, it will be big tension. So a second impact which we can expect from this war is the high tension between South Korea and China, and that going to impact the whole security environment in the region.
Right.
And third, I think a more important application will be regarding Japan. I don't think that if China become more aggressive, if China become more and more try to reach more and more in South China Sea, Japanese people are not going to take lightly, So we can expect that Japan is going to respond in kind. So we can phrase that Japan may give up its peaceful constitution and start rearming itself. So we can expect that this nationalism or extreme nationalism in Japan is going to rise, and that can have a counter effect. As you know, nationalism in Japan is sometimes very dangerous for the regional country. So if the nationalism in Japan starts, it can have a counter effect, or in South Asia, even in Korea. So it can have side effect. So it can start a chain reaction in the region. So it can also start a kind of arm race. So this also is very seriously worried about how Japan is going to react to China's aggressive behavior in the region, and how Japan is going to react to North Korea's aggressive behavior. Last time when they tested a nuclear missile, Japan was very upset with the new missile from South. So in the coming days, we can expect more and more tension between Japan and South Korea, Japan and China, and that itself is going to create more instability and more chaos in the region. And last but not least, I personally expect that this alliance, Ukraine war, will bring China and Russia much closer. Earlier, before the war, there were some differences between China and Russia. But because of this new situation, I think both Russia and China are going to narrow down their differences and try to build a stronger response, united response against Japan, against South Korea, against US in the region. So now you can say division is complete. Battle lines are drawn. So on the one side, we can expect Japan, South Korea, and USA. Second time, we can see North Korea, China and Russia. Earlier, the alliance was blurred because of the economic growth, trade, all things were happening. But now, again, division will become stronger. So battle lines with North Korea, Russia, China on the one side, and USA, South Korea, and Japan on the one side. So they're very clear, sharp. So the peaceful diplomacy, is going to end, and the conflict between the two sides are going to increase more and more. And this can bring a lot of economic instability, because Japan and China are very deeply involved in economic cooperation. So if this geopolitical situation forces them to conflict with each other, it can impact even the economic growth of the region. So it can have a very dangerous consequences. So, and I will talk a little bit about India. So far, India was lucky. So India was able to maintain good relationship with the Western Bloc, as well as with the Russian Bloc, with Chinese Bloc. But I think as the superpower competition intensify in the region, India may not be that lucky. India may be forced to make a choice. So far, so good. But I feel in the coming days, in the coming years, the superpower competition in the region are going to intensify more and more, and struggle is going to. So, countries like India, who are trying to maintain good relationship with both West as well as with Russia and China, are in a very difficult position. So we may not be we may not be able to maintain our neutrality, or we may not may not be able to keep our keep our what we call strategic ambiguity for a long time. Either we have to, because this superpower competition between Russia, China, and Western countries are not going to end anytime soon. It has a very deep reason. The fault lines are very deep. It cannot end with the end of the Ukraine war. So believe me, Ukraine war is just a manifestation of a bigger tensions which was happening in the region. So the Ukraine war is a manifestation of the struggle between two blocks. And India, country like India, will be in very, very difficult situation. So if we decide to go with Russia, and Western country will be very aggressively attacked against India. And if we decided to go to Western country, China as well as Russia will react very angrily with us. So we in India will be very, very difficult situation. So I don't know at this stage what can I suggest to my policymakers what they should do. But I can foresee that we are heading towards a very difficult and very tricky situation. There's no easy end of this power struggle between two blocks, and so far as we are trying to be equal, very active part in the Quad as well as the BRICS association. But these two organizations are becoming very clear battle lines. So these fault lines are difficult to reconcile with the peaceful diplomacy. So the fault lines are very deep now, and fault lines are cutting across everything: economy, security, culture. It's not country like India, who was trying to keep a smiling face with both countries. So it's a peaceful diplomacy or a dinner diplomacy or a personal relationship with Modi. Modi was able to maintain a good relationship with Putin as well as the President Biden. So that kind of personal relationship, which our Prime Minister tried to make, may be very difficult now in the future, because the fault lines are very difficult, very deep now. And it's India, so a country like India, which has been able to play double role, which you can say a neutral role, are going to be in a very difficult situation. So as a whole, I want to conclude my remarks saying that we in Asia should take this war very seriously and should try to understand the real significance of this war. This war is a manifestation of two power blocks. Fault lines are very much deeper than it can be fully understood by normal observers. So we should start preparing. We should start preparing how to maintain peace, because if war happens in Asia Pacific, it will destroy everything. No country in the region, not just South Korea, not Japan or Australia or any other country can escape from the flames. So our main responsibility is how to reconcile two contending ideologies, contending economic models, and so that both China as well as Japan can live in peace. So even though our region is now at present is very peaceful, but in the coming days we can expect serious troubles. Thank you very much.
Oh, well, thank you, Dr. Singh, for your thoughtful overview of geopolitical issues here in China, Japan, Korea, and India, of course. And I am struck, first by the absence of discussion really about arms control and disarmament anymore, and also the degree to which these blocks, I think you're very accurately described the blocks, but I think for those who like to say it's a new Cold War, the new Cold War was the sort of confrontation between ideological blocks, right? The socialist and the I guess you might say capitalist or free democratic groups block, and that was. But this is not really ideological so much. It's more like what we saw, in my opinion, before the First World War, say between Germany and Turkey, with England and France, and then extending, of course, to Russia. Of course, at the beginning of the confrontations leading to the First World War, no one imagined that Russia would end up aligned with England and France, but there are unpredictable aspects then and probably this time as well. So we'd like to ask next